Drugs and floating nuns. Let's see what that's about. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Angela and today a spoiler-free review of H.L. Tinsley's The Hallows. This was provided to me as an e-arc by the author in exchange of an honest and fair review, and that's what we're doing today. The Hallows is not her first book. Tinsley also has written the Vanguard Chronicles. Two of the volumes have been released yet. The first one is We Men of Ash and Shadow, and the second one, The Hand That Casts the Bone. They're kind of like an urban gaslight grimdark fantasy series. This one, The Hallows, is I think a standalone, so I wouldn't mind if she turns this into a wider series as well. But for the time being, I think it's meant as a standalone. So let's see what's up with the drugs and the nuns. The Hallows is a little bit a genre mix. It's urban fantasy, it's a gaslight fantasy, it's grimdark, it's a bit horror as well. So I really liked this mix. I like that it's quite defying of genre boundaries. And we encounter an entity called the Providence Company, and the Providence Company is run by the Sisters of Sweet Mercy. So those are the nuns I have been referring to, and yeah, they are quite special. I like them, I have to say. They manufacture a drug called Hallow, so they're drug pushers in a way. But they're like a pharmaceutical company. They're a religious order. They're fighters. They're like an army in some respects as well. So there are a lot of things, but as I say, they manufacture this drug called Hallow, and Hallow has some quite special properties. The nuns use Hallow as part of their religious practice. It transports them to a place or a state that they call the Hallows, where you have like this fusion of everything, this union of everything. But it also has other uses. And one of the aspects that Hallow also has is Hallow is lethal to humans. And that brings me to the characters we encounter, because the characters are all from a group that's called the Old Ones. And the Old Ones are not human. They have diluted more and more over their history into looking more and more like humans and acting more and more like humans, but they're not like humans. So all the characters, but at least all the main characters that we are encountering, are non-human but humanoid characters. But humans do play a role in this world, and humans hold all the power, especially political power, which plays kind of like in the background of the story, that we have a lot of political intrigue going on, and it causes also a lot of tension in this urban setting where we are. Hallow also has the property that it will enhance an aspect of the user, and what aspect is enhanced really depends a lot on who's using it. But you might get super strength, you might get lightning fast, or your senses get enhanced, you hear better, you smell better, your taste is more intense. But it depends a lot on the user. Hallow, as all drugs, also has side effects. The side effects can be enormous. One thing is, as soon as the dose wears off, you go into some really severe withdrawal. And the other thing is, prolonged use will cause what's called the transformation, and that has huge bodily consequences. Long-term users can suddenly sprout horns, or their face gets deformed, their eyes might close over, their nose turns into an ear, they lose their hands, or their feet turn backwards, or they grow extra arms and extra legs. So the drug will cause huge bodily transformations over time, and that can be kind of like a slow onset, or it can be very, very rapid. Again, it's individually different. So that's the basics of, yeah, how shall I say, what's also the magic system in the world. We don't have any other magic. So we have this drug that is, well, a drug, but also a religious practice, and also a magic system. And that, I think, makes it a little bit different. I liked this take on how to get magic into the world. And yeah, I really like this aspect of the book. And as I said, one of the darks is the transformations. The other thing is that Hallow users are very exploitable. And that brings me to our main character. Our main character is Camellia, or Cam for short. He is what's called an assessor. Assessors are a type of detective almost, who work for the company, so the nuns are his employers. And they basically investigate crime scenes and try to assess if the death was caused by the drug Hallow, and if so, could it have been prevented? So that's their function. And the city has different teams of assessors. They're in different parts of the city, and each district has an assessor team. And depending on where you are, that also kind of like determines what name you get. Camellia is in the garden district, and all the assessors there, so his whole team, has flower names. This naming convention worked for me in some respects, and in others it didn't. In other areas, they are named after the names of the week or after other entities. So they get the idea. It works because the Hallows is a book that deals a lot with identity. And because the assessors are renamed, they have to let go of their original name. And also that has this effect that their original... And that also has the effect that their original identity is totally wiped out, to the extent that in some cases the original name is totally forgotten. And on that level, this really worked for me. The level where it didn't work so well is, yeah, we're talking about a bunch of tough guys, no? Think, I don't know, bouncer material, no? Tall, muscles, strong. And they all get those flower names, no? Camellia, Daffodil, Forget-Me-Not. And yes, I know it's the contrast and so on, but to me this felt a little bit contrived. This might be different for other readers, but as I say, it works and it didn't work for me. That aside, Camellia is a really fascinating character. He has a really interesting backstory that makes him into a very, very complex character. The backstory is also woven quite expertly into the main plot and drives that main plot. It's another plus of the book, where I really thought, yes, all the different pieces have a function. They're there for a reason, which made this really kind of like quite enjoyable to read as well. And yes, so we follow Camellia, how he goes along trying to do his work as an assessor. And one of the requirements of the job is that he has to take Hallow. Because of the enormous side effects, Hallow is a very controlled substance. The nuns are the only manufacturers. They have the monopoly. And yeah, so Cam knows that at some stage the transformations will hit him, like all his colleagues know that. But there aren't so many jobs for the old ones, because yeah, humans hold the power, humans have the political power, and they're very disenfranchised. And there are some really interesting settings in the book. The world building is actually quite nicely done. I really love how this city is built up, how the world is built up. My only regret really is that there wasn't more of that. There are some really interesting settings that are well done. There is something that's called the sanatorium, which is like an asylum setting. There is a factory setting as well, where, yeah, old ones are basically exploited, because if the drug gives you extra speed, then you're basically put on an assembly line to do stuff super fast. And that's your job, nothing else. No? The basic plot is that, and this isn't much of a spoiler, you figure this out pretty quickly what's going on, that one of the old ones has actually been elected to political office and will be inaugurated. And this causes a lot of strife and tension in the city. And that's kind of like the backdrop that we have. So we have this company that manufactures a drug. We have people who are almost forced to take this drug that will ultimately destroy their bodies and their lives. And then we have the wider political situation. What I liked about the plot is it starts relatively slow. The book at first appears almost a bit too conventional, in parts maybe cliche, but I would really say give this a chance, read on. It's really just the first maybe 10-15 pages, and then this kind of like starts to get momentum, and it gets a lot of momentum. And the way this whole idea of this drug, that's magic system, religious practice, is set up, plus this political situation, you have this feeling you have all the players, you have the feeling you have all the parts, and you think this plot is on this one trajectory and this is where we're going. And the plot starts to accelerate more and more and more. And you have this feeling, oh, no, this is going, yes, I know where this is going, and it's not good necessarily. And then you hit the last 50 pages, and I'm telling you, I was totally transfixed. I think I read those 50 pages in under an hour, because I was just, go on. I want to know. And even on this last bit, you're still hit with stuff you do not expect. There is especially one character bit. I just sat on the sofa, I yelped, and my husband says, "What's wrong? Are you reading one of those books again?" And I was, yes, because it's good. It's just so good. The end has just blown me away. And it's very hard to not talk any spoilers about this. Let's talk themes instead. Themes, yes, we have the theme of identity, as I said already. We also have this question of what is human, but it's nicely flipped in a way. So the thing is, as I said, the old ones have become more and more human. We also have the ancients, which are not so human, and we have a totally new entity that is there and wants kind of like to reverse this development towards being more human. So it's not so much the question or the outright question of what makes us human, but we actually have characters in the book that say human bad. So the more humanity you have, the more you should be rejected. And I liked this little twist of this question that we find in a lot of fantasy. No? What makes us human? Why is it desirable to be human? So we're more faced with the being human is not desirable because. And of course we as the reader are there shouting, no! No? So I liked this little twist a lot. The other thing I liked a lot is, apart from the plot and the plot acceleration, that really worked very well for me. The other thing I liked about this book is it's a book a lot about monsters. What is a monster? what turns us into a monster, and also kind of like how do we deal with the monster and the monstrous inside us. So that was another theme in the book that I thought was really well done and well transported by the bodily transformations. And some of them are, let's say, very lovingly described. So if you have a problem with body horror, I would say tread lightly, because this book totally delivers on gory bodily details. But I also have to say, I found the way how Tinsley writes grimdark very, very interesting. Now, I'm not a grimdark aficionado. I have read some of the genre, but by far not everything. It's also not necessarily my favorite genre. But my takeaway so far is, from what I've read when I've read grimdark, is that a lot of the darker, more, let's say, nihilistic aspects of the world are transported by violence, and a lot of the more challenging and gory violence in a lot of cases is played out by utilizing female bodies. This is not the case in the Hallows. The Hallows, I would say, yeah, is grimdark, but the darkness, the futility comes from something different. It's not coming from violence. It's not this, I have to kill to survive myself, and this is the only way I can actually live. If I don't do this, there is no way that I stay alive. It's not this type of grimdark, but the darkness, the futility of life, the why do I even get up in the morning, why do I still do this questions are linked to the drug and how the drug takes away a future. Because if you're a long time user, you know what your future will be like. And if you know your future, then do you even have a future? That's one thing. And the other thing is that the old ones, and so therefore all the protagonists in the book, are so disenfranchised. And both those two things together negate a lot of agency and make this a really bleak existence. And I really liked this way of introducing grimdark in a book. I actually liked it so much that I want to read her other books, the Vanguard Chronicles, because, yeah, I personally find that quite a unique way of doing grimdark. There is a lot of violence in the book, don't get me wrong. There is also a lot of action in the book. There's a lot of fighting. There are bar fights, there are street fights, there is gigantic battles going on in the city. So there is a lot of violence, and we're in the thick of it, and it's described and it's there, it's on the page, it's gory, but it's not what fuels the bleakness. And as I say, I personally found that quite unique, but then as also not the utmost expert in grimdark. But I was also wondering, maybe it has to do with this being a female writer, I don't know. But yeah, so I found this a unique book on several levels, and worth my while and really worth reading for myself. It's available for pre-order at the moment. The release date, I think, is the 22nd of March. And yeah, that's it for me. And as always, happy reading and all the best.